Now let the beat ride.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to a special edition of High Chicago. Now, it's special for a couple reasons, right? The first one I'll get into in the beginning of the episode. The second one I'll tell you guys at the end. But I'm here with the crew, like I always am. Start with my boy Aaron. How you feeling, bro?
Black, but I feel that every day.
Are you still excessively black, or you tone it down a little bit?
A little bit, right?
Look, I'm not trying to be excessively black all the time, you know. It might scare the whites, man.
We
I
might
thought that
address
was
that
the
during this
point.
episode.
That's cool.
JV, what's good, bro?
I'm chilling, bro. How's it going, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm decent. Who the fuck is this?
Who is who?
Is that Mary Claire?
Is that Mary Claire?
Mary Claire,
Wait a
you-
minute. Hold on. Let me get closer.
Hey, what's up?
For
That
the
is
first
Mary
time
Claire.
since April, Mary
a
Claire is back on the
screenshot.
show. You look different.
Ooh.
I do.
The hair looks
I got
different.
fat, didn't I? I got fat.
You
No,
you got
you're
some little baby
glowing.
fat.
You're
know,
glowing.
Also, your skin looks pale as shit still.
Okay.
Actually, I'm really tan.
That's
I
what the
think it's just
glowing
the
is.
ring light that I have on today, but
No, it's good. I'm
I
just
just
talking
came
shit.
back from Miami, so I'm pretty
Hey.
tan. I don't know about
Yeah,
y'all.
man.
Okay.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence once
Right.
again.
We appreciate it.
you.
Well, I
Honestly.
missed y'all a lot. I really did.
So however you guys are listening, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, please continue to always support. Make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. We're gonna get this show cracking. Because I had a thought that kind of dawned on me as I'm reading some shit on my phone yesterday. Do you guys ever think about how full of shit America really is?
Oh. Okay.
Every day.
Basically every day.
Yeah. But like sometimes
Yeah.
we sit back and like reflect on how full of shit we really are because of the decisions we make or the actions that are chosen. And sometimes it's like mind boggling, right? So I want to talk about school for a second.
Okay.
Kindergarten through 8th grade, every day, right? What do we have to say? The Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Every damn day. Okay. And one of the words in the Pledge of Allegiance is the fact that as a nation, we are indivisible. Right. Which is crazy because we're actually the most divided ass country, probably out of all of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's
We're-
terrible.
we
One
don't really think
nation,
about that.
highly divided. Not
Exactly.
under God.
And so when I bring up school, it's because Texas Senate just passed a bill, okay, that would remove a requirement for public school teachers to teach the fact that the KKK is morally wrong. They can no longer teach that to students. But in the same bill, it's required that they teach you about the importance of the civil rights movement. What the fuck does that tell you?
It's fucked up.
Welcome to Texas.
Mm.
Well, I mean, Southern politics,
Jesus,
really.
baby.
I mean, we saw this coming with the critical race theory, right? Everybody's been talking about that. And Aaron pointed to my attention, even across the river over in Tennessee, the governor, they banned that. You can't even teach the critical race theory over in Tennessee. I know Arkansas Senator Tim, what's his name? Tim Cotton or something like that. He got on television on Fox News talking about he don't want, young white kids feeling like it's their fault about slavery and that kind of thing, when no one has ever said that, hey, let's make all these kids feel like it's their
Right.
fault for the reason why America is what it is today or the issues that we've had throughout our American history. But I think what a lot of lawmakers have noticed is that if you can change things in history and feed people BS, that people are going to buy into that. We've seen that a lot since maybe 2015, 2016, and all the way up into present day. I mean, you still have people saying that Joe Biden didn't win the election, regardless of what the results were way back on November 5th, 6th, whatever day.
But the problem that I have though is the wording, right? So
Right.
okay, so tell me if I'm wrong, right? The Ku Klux Klan that's been around since the 1800s,
Mhm.
their goal is to fucking say fuck black people, basically, right? In a multitude of ways. Whether that's
Uphold white
More
supremacy.
than that, they trying to end
Yeah.
black people.
but I'm talking about
it's
between
a whole
lynching,
different-
you know what I'm saying? Between just torture motherfuckers, between burning crosses in churches on people's lawns and shit, right? Their whole goal is to keep black people down,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Spread propaganda too. Don't forget that part.
Oh,
Naturally.
yeah.
That part that JV was just talking about.
So how is it that we can teach this in school about the KKK, but it not be morally wrong at all? That's the wording I have the problem with, is saying that the shit's not morally wrong. How could it not be?
I don't even understand why they had to get all in detail of it. I mean, it's very obvious, like you said, that it's morally wrong. So why do we have to go into detail about like teachers sharing their opinion of whether they thought it was morally wrong or not? Like, if you're a teacher, your job is to teach the truth and all the truth of our history. And we've learned in the past that we've been teaching out of these false textbooks. And what now all of a sudden, like, teachers aren't supposed to share their true opinion about what we've already sat back and said, like, we are recognizing as a nation that this was morally wrong. And now the teachers are supposed to say, nah, y'all can't say all that. You can say what happened, but like, you can't say all that. Like, what?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to teach kids that it was wrong in the first place and that we've been doing teaching history wrong all this whole time? Like, I just don't understand the whole purpose of the bill anyway, because it just seems stupid, because it even reflected on other movements such as like women's rights movements and like voting rights and all these different things. And it's like, okay, so that's like not talking about how terribly like we treated women back in the day, but like we're supposed to glaze over it. I don't understand that. Same thing with this fact. We're supposed to glaze over it. You can teach about the KKK, but you can't sit there and say like this was morally wrong. Like, that is what we should be teaching. I just don't get that.
Yeah.
So I guess,
And it
Aaron, my question would be,
seems-
why do you think that's the case?
Well, what I was gonna say was, it seems like they just want to make it seem like it was all sunshine and roses, when in reality they know that the entire history of America is built on one race having the power, and they don't want it to seem like, oh, my children are benefiting from that, even though we know and they know that they are. They just don't want it taught in schools. I think it's stupid, one. And I think it's going to give everyone essentially just this false sense of togetherness, when not the entire nation's not fully together. Even you see now just the division amongst political parties. You see that those political parties do tend to strike with certain races, right? You don't see, even though there are some, you don't see a lot of Black people going towards the Republican Party, and you don't see a lot of those Southern whites going towards the Democratic Party, which where most of these bills are being passed in the South.
Exactly. So that's spot on, in the South, right? Because I feel like I only see this type of shit down South. Now, JV, you live down South most of your life, right? Mary Claire, you've been in Texas for a few years now. Is my statement fucking, am I tripping?
Well, yes,
bro.
I would say this. Go ahead, MC.
No, you can go ahead, because the thing I want to piggyback off is something you said earlier.
Okay, I'll just say this real quick, Sean. Yeah, it looks like this is happening just in the South, but it's not just in the South thing. This is also happening in suburban Midwest, suburban, East Coast, suburban West Coast. I mean, you think about the mask mandate they put out in LA County. They could maybe get away with that in LA County, but the sheriff himself already said they're not going to enforce that.
Yeah.
But you go over to Orange County, which is, Anaheim, everything that's suburban Los Angeles, that that's never going to pass. They were protesting and having Trump rallies in Orange County. That's Southern California. So I think a lot of times when we see these things, we sometimes frame it as, oh, that's the Arkansas thing, that's the Alabama thing, that's the Texas thing, that's the Tennessee thing. But that's a West Suburban and Northwest Suburban Chicago thing. So I mean,
I'm not saying that racism isn't everywhere.
No,
but I think the problem that Sean wants to address is how long are we gonna allow states to have this much power and having an opinion that's so racist? Like, why is Texas able to pass this bill? Like, it should be nationally recognized that teaching about the KKK being morally wrong, that should be nationally recognized. Like, I don't feel like a state should be able to pick like, nah, we're not going to teach that. Like, that's fucked up. How long are we going to allow a group that large, that big of a public opinion? Like, at what point are we going to say enough is enough, and every single state have to abide by the fact that we're going to recognize that this is the truth that we need to teach?
I think it's all about political correctness, though, right? I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these states you guys are mentioning are red states, and those red states are going to go in that direction. But I feel like the same thing can happen in our Midwestern states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. Those states sometimes turn red as well. In the end of the day, what really just happens is that the Republican Party realized that you can feed people BS and tell them that what you're seeing is not real, and you can holler and shout as loud as you can lies, and people are going to believe it. I mean, you have a lot of people. I mean, have you all heard what's going on currently? They're trying to come up with a committee to investigate January 6th insurrection, and you got people on the right that's like, we're good. We're going to do our own investigation into it. And then one of the first people who were charged and prosecuted got like 8 months or something. I mean, I mean, you can sit here and violate a government, property and trespass and, cause all kinds of mayhem, and you might.
But it's morally wrong.
But is it though, right?
And we can recognize that, right?
Just saying.
Right. But is it morally wrong? Because maybe these were just good patriots standing up for their country and wanting people to know that their votes count. I mean,
but that's the thing, bro. That's America in a nutshell, right? Half the motherfuckers think that was wrong. The other half think those patriots standing up for their country, right? A lot of people see nothing wrong with the fuck they did, right? So that's what I say when I'm talking about America and Americans. We are full of shit.
Or Americans.
Yeah.
We ain't doing shit about nothing.
But we've been that way.
Of course.
Are we surprised? Yeah, I mean,
you say we've been that way, but we've gotten to a point where we've literally been able to like prove things with actual evidence and like humans right in front of our faces, and we still don't do shit. And that's the most fucked up thing, is when you've got the most opportunity to be right and do something right about what's been wrong, and you still got motherfuckers who have the power to just keep doing wrong. Like, that's what's fucked up. That's what's mostly fucked up about this.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I mean, but that's the beautiful thing about America.
But something I wanted to say, JB, you said earlier, this concept about the fear of teaching kids like that they're supposed to feel like they're wrong or like have emotions about it, even though it has nothing to do with them in the present, but more so like people of their color in the past. I think that's another huge factor when things like this come out in the open, because I think there's also the flip side to think about, which is still ridiculous because we're all educated enough that we know that teachers only have so much they can say in a classroom, but it's still proper to teach, things like the KKK is morally wrong. But I think there's also this fear of that if white people accept the fact that we're going to teach that things like the KKK and how they've treated Black people in the past is morally wrong, that it's going to bring other things out. And there's also this fear that now, what if Black people get too powerful? Like, I think it's literally the same thing. I think that white people are so fearful of Black people that they're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have everything taken away from me. Like, they take it so personal. And I'm like, at what point are you gonna pass the baton and share wealth? Like, why you gotta have everything to yourself? Like, I've literally met so many white people who fear things being taken away from them, not by just anyone, but literally people of color, people who have less opportunity than them. And I'm like, that sounds so stupid. Like, I would feel better if something I didn't get went to somebody who truly deserves it. Like, come on now, you're fighting for the same things in life, and we're talking about whether or not you have the advantage or not,
I truly believe that most, hot take right for me, most white folks don't like Black people.
I wouldn't say most. No,
I would say most.
That's strong.
I wouldn't say most. I would
what
say
percentage you say when you say the word most?
Of the course, the entire United States of America, right? If you think about it. Think about all the shit that they put Black people through, right? We had a whole goddamn civil war about it, right? You got slavery. You got segregation of bathrooms, restaurants, bus seats and shit, right? We had no rights to fucking vote. The fucking KKK is still around. A white dude fucking capped Martin Luther King Jr. You know what I'm saying? The most peaceful dude on the planet.
Did that man just say Kane?
He said
Kang.
Kang.
I just got a question. Are you T.I.? Are you T.I. now? Martin Luther King? Okay.
But dead ass, right? So he was the most people dude on the planet who all he wanted was equality.
Yeah.
And he got murdered for that shit, right? White people still call us the N-word and shit like that, man. And fucking, there's so much that's still going on to this day, is what makes me believe that they always are going to try to find a way to keep us the fuck down, right? We're getting shot up by the police and shit, right? Black people are. It's always fucking something. So
Well,
that's why I said.
But until you teach young people the correct moral way of thinking, they cannot make that decision for themselves because they've got somebody telling them what's morally correct, helping them decide what is morally acceptable. And that's what's messed up in this world is we literally have teachers who are probably sitting there like not teaching anything accurately about the KKK or what they at least should be saying, you know, things like it's morally wrong. And then you've got kids out there thinking like, oh, that's really funny, or oh, like that's why white people are awesome. And it's like, shut the hell up. Do you hear what you're saying? Like,
what I think the
frustrating.
biggest, and I tell this story to my friends all the time. You know, I remember when I was like 12, 13 years old living in Arkansas. And the biggest fear back then, people used to always say, and I had mostly all white teachers throughout my entire academic career. And I mean, you know, time until I moved to Illinois. And the biggest fear they used to always say is, oh, in 2050 or 2030, that's when population demographics is going to shift and the Mexicans, Hispanic people, they're going to be the majority and white people are no longer going to be the minority. And that was like the biggest fear for them. Like they used to teach this into the classroom. And so I say all that to say, Sean, I wouldn't say that most white people, I wouldn't say all the white people, I wouldn't say most of all white people. I just think that, and we joked about this in Indianapolis last weekend, I just think like if you are born white and you come from a certain background, it's hard for you to understand and connect with a culture or a group of people or a person who comes from a completely different background as you.
You don't have to.
All about exposure.
But just don't be a shit.
Wait, no. Hear me out.
This is why critical race theory is important, though, man.
Yeah,
I agree.
It is.
But hear me out. What I'm saying is that it's hard for you to understand their strife and their struggle because as a white man or a white, no, I'm saying if I'm white.
Oh, okay.
If I'm white, it's hard for me to understand a Black person's struggle or strife or whatever adversity they may have faced because again, I only know my perspective. I only know that, you know, my neighbor owns the tavern downtown and I only know that, you know, my other neighbor is the CEO or CFO of such and such business and here I am, you know, running my own business and my kids, when I play golf, if my kids need an internship and they want to go and get an internship across the country, I know my best pal who got a friend or got a buddy and I can just sit there and pass over a resume just that simply, just that easily. Whereas a lot of us people of color, you know, I'm Black, I can't speak from the Mexican experience or anybody else's experience, just the Black experience, but most of us people of color, we don't have that access. So that's why those white folks that's in control, they don't want their kids to realize and understand what's really going on because they're seeing this younger generation. You talk about that Gen X generation. They're seeing them stand up, act a fool and show like, hey, we're not letting that happen. And if you have kids that's growing up that's my son age, you have kids that's growing up that's younger than my son, and they start to realize what's really going on into this world, that power shift, that power struggle that's been going on since before we were all born, it will be no more struggle because you will have kids, if they're taught correctly, saying, oh no, we're not going to allow that to happen. And that's why you have people changing all these laws, trying to make it like, oh, well, no, none of that is the case. Everything is peachy and rosy. It's just the Blacks and brown people. They just don't want to work
MC,
hard.
before you go, but I'm going to challenge JV's point though, right? Because I guess I disagree, right? You say it's hard for a white person to understand a Black person's like struggle. Maybe, right? But there's literally been for 150 years, this KKK group has been around doing the same shit and no one's batting an eye trying to fucking get rid of them at all, number one, right? Number two, how many times do you see a celebrity get caught on camera saying the N-word, right? Or you're playing Call of Duty and you get called the N-word by a white person. That's just them being ignorant. That's a choice. Doesn't matter where the fuck they grew up, I grew up, like they know that the shit that they're doing and saying is wrong, but
they don't
to do it.
No, they don't.
You can't fuck you. You mean to tell me that these people that say the N-word don't know it's wrong?
Can I say this just real fast?
Hurry up because I want to.
I'll make it quick. Okay, nobody lose their point. I'll just say this real fast. No, if you are not taught that saying a certain word or a certain phrase is harmful and the hurt that comes behind that word, how are you going to know that?
Sean, I would like to offer you a new perspective really quick. I understand we're talking about race, but since we brought up the point of talking about other struggles from the past that we have overcome, how many times have you called another woman a bitch? Just think about it.
Okay.
Just think about it. Just in general, casual, doesn't matter. think about really hurtful words that pertain to a woman. You can't tell me that you understand the hurt that it feels when a woman is called that, because you're not a woman.
No,
okay?
but if I call a dude a bitch, it's the same thing.
No, because listen,
No, it's not.
when we're
It's
talking
definitely
about
not, Chuck.
something that you're taught, something that you're exposed to on the regular, it's more difficult for you to understand it. And I understand that, like, I mean, I was raised around a lot of Black folks. Like, I was not brought up with a lot of like white people in my schools and stuff. Like, I was the minority where I came from, but like, I was able to gain a little bit more insight. I don't understand every single thing because I'm not Black, but I was able to gain plenty of insight. And
But if I call you a bitch, I'm doing it on purpose. Like, I know I'm wrong. What I'm saying is wrong. I acknowledge
Okay.
that.
Okay, but maybe to me, because it's a little bit more personal. But I'm talking about maybe women you don't know as well.
It's
You can't say you don't do it.
No, what I'm saying is I know that for a fact. What I'm saying is wrong. Like, I know that. I'm not gonna plead ignorance.
But you say it anyway, right?
Because if I'm in,
Guess what? Racist people, sometimes they know it's wrong, but they say it anyway.
Exactly.
Because they
JV's
want
trying
to
to defend them, and I'm saying that
No.
exactly.
Don't put words in my mouth. Are there people who know when they're saying things incorrectly and inappropriately? Absolutely.
They know eyes are going to look at them. They know that people think they're wrong.
But are there people who say things and honestly do not know the hurt behind it? You know what it reminds me of? I think it might have been a late 90s or early 2000 commercial. It was a group of basketball players, and it was an NBA push telling people, like, don't say like homophobic slurs, like, don't be playing basketball saying, oh, you gay, you are, or that's gay, right?
Yeah, that's gay. Don't do that.
When we were kids, that meant nothing to us. If I bumped into your leg, you would say, "Oh, quit playing gay. That's gay." Like,
nowadays, you have to really be careful saying that, because you could really cause some drama. Like, that is bad. It's hurtful to that community.
Exactly. So it's
and we have learned that.
As a kid, I didn't know anything was necessarily wrong about that. I mean, I watched TV shows where they said worse. They said the F word. They said those kinds of things, right? On TV. They didn't bleep it out, And so the point that I'm making is that even though that's not necessarily about race, but I'm saying, if you're not taught, had I came from a background or a household where maybe I had people that identified in the LGBTQ community in my family, I probably would have understood that, oh no, that's absolutely wrong. You can't say that, that's wrong. But
you'll be less likely, or like,
less likely,
the way that you would use it.
You would kind of understand it, right? But if you don't have any connections to that community, you don't have that uncle or that auntie, or
you don't have that
cousin,
connection, that emotional tie.
You just saying the F word or that's gay or whatever case may be, just without any conscience. So what I'm saying is if I'm a young white kid and I grew up in East Texas, I'm from Jasper, Texas. My dad say the N-word, my mama say the N-word, everybody I know say the N-word, my neighbors say the N-word, and we all say it. And I'm playing Call of Duty with Sean Allen, and I'm like, hey, you know what I'm not thinking of how that makes you feel when the Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and all the black folks on the civil rights. I'm playing the game. This nigger done beat me. I'm saying, so the point that I'm saying is make sure y'all bleep that. Please do. But
it's gonna be there for all time.
Please do. The point that I'm making is that, when you grow up a certain way, it's certain things that you say and do that you don't realize is bad. And as a black guy, I grew up in the South where I had white friends and me having black friends as well. We used to tell each other racist jokes. I mean, they would sit there and tell me racist jokes like, "Oh, what can a piece of do that a black man can't?" And I'm like, "What? Oh, feed the family forward." They cracking up laughing. No. I'm saying they would say that as a kid. I'm thinking that's normal. We just make
that goes to such a deeper issue, man. But that's the problem right there.
Yeah. As a grown man,
and that is why
somebody said that to me.
That is why it should be taught that the KKK was morally wrong. Because if you let kids keep thinking that they're allowed to have an opinion that it was right, then we got some more problems that are going to continue to develop throughout the years.
And
it's just a way to sow division. That's what it feels like. It just feels like a way to sow division.
And you're watching this, and you think it's right, hit us up so we can talk to you one-on-one.
101.
I would like to ask you a few more questions on the side, Loki.
But Sean, you just said something so great. You was like, man, that's really, that just shows the deeper issue. Like that as like
Yeah.
I was 12, 13 years old, a preteen, teenager. My white friends sat there and made, race jokes.
Because they got that from their parents or they heard it somewhere.
And I, as a black kid, just thought this was normal because this is what we did in the South. And then I come to Illinois. Think about it. I came to Illinois saying stuff at 17. So that's why when people get in trouble for stuff they said on Twitter at 17, 18, I'm always kind of giving them some slack, even though it seemed like, well, they should know better, right? But I came to Illinois saying stuff at 17, 18 years old, thinking this was normal. And it was like highly offensive. We'd go to parts of Orland. I'm like, oh, I don't know why y'all got up in these white folks' neighborhoods. And my friends, Mike and them, would look at me like, where are you from? White folks' neighborhood. This is Orland. You can go wherever you want to go. Like, what are you talking about? But where I
go
come
wherever
from,
you want to go.
where I come from, it's still like that here in the South. Still right here in West Memphis. I was just with my friends the other day. We went to the other part of town, and my friend, oh man, I don't like being over here by these white folks. And I'm just like, that's crazy. We saying the same stuff we were saying in 2008 and 2006 that we saying in 2021.
The racism is still very prominent out here too. Orland Park, Tinley Park.
Yeah.
There was like a police car that had the KKK on it. You know what I'm saying? I seen that shit. That was in Tinley Park, right? Orland Park. I got homies that get called the N-word all the time.
That's crazy.
By white people.
That is crazy. When I was a kid and I went to school, kids would try to get me to say the N-word all the time because I was the white kid that they were like, oh, let's make her say it. Let's make her say it. And then one time, this white kid said the N-word and she got jumped in the locker room, y'all.
See?
God, man.
I was like, no.
It's funny because speaking of Orland, JV,
cool.
You're going to remember this story. This was when I came back from Florida, right? I decided to go to Orland Mall with JV. And JV, I guess Orland Mall, there was like a shift essentially in the demographics in Orland Mall where the people who came from Lincoln Mall or River Oaks, because those malls were essentially deteriorating, they came over to Orland Mall. So JV just decided to do what would be considered a social experiment. So he went up to all the employees of Orland Mall, started asking them about the essentially the demographic switch. Was like, damn, you see all these people here, man, what do you think about it? And no one really took the bait.
I'm about to say
until we hit Sephora.
Yep.
And that was the craziest thing. So we were talking, and then one of the sales people came over, and she was asking us about the fragrances we were looking at. And JV was like, oh, so what do you think about this? What's going on in this mall, man? All these different people here. And then she said with her whole chest, I mean, it's a lot, man. I mean, you two are cool, but, and she said like in my face, I turned around and walked away before she finished whatever she said. JV would have heard the entire thing though.
Yep. Yeah. So what I would ask is, I'll say, to make it like not about race, but to make it about race, I'd be like, man, all these Matson people. And so if you're not from Chicago, so you understand.
Oh man,
Harlem, it's like that dividing line where your black suburbs, Matson, Richmond Park, Chicago Heights, Park Forest is to the right. Your predominantly white suburbs still to this day, Frankfurt, Tinley Park, and Orland is on the left-hand side of Harlem. Right. And so we're at the mall, and I would say, man, all these, since they closed the Lincoln Mall, all these Matson people and stuff like that. And so some people look at me crazy, like, what you mean Matson people? Like, what you trying to say? And that was cool. But this one white woman in particular, she felt it. It's in her soul. And I was talking with her southern accent. Chest, and I was like, man, these, Matson, Chicago Heights people coming in here, sagging and stuff. And she was like, I know, right? Like, they're just everywhere. They're just taking over.
Oh my
she was
God.
like, you two are cool, but them other, and then she was going on the air was just so frustrating.
I was somewhere else.
So would you consider her to be racist? Would you consider her racist?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I look at it this way. She a product of her environment. She came from other side of Harlem, in which I peeped when I first moved to Illinois, right? The other side of Harlem was all nice and white. The other side of Harlem, people tried to make like it was hell. We worked at Best Buy together, Sean, in Tinley Park. I would talk to people about going to Maxton. They'd be like, oh, dang, they built the new Chipotle at Maxton. But, oh, man, I'm scared I might get robbed. I'm like, how many people?
I feel like people don't even know about that side of town because if they white, they don't go that way.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I talk to some white people and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm from the south suburbs. They're like, oh, what part? I'll be like, oh, Matson. And they're like, what? I'm like, Richmond Park. They're like, huh? And I'm like, Tinley Park, Orland. They're like, oh yeah, I know exactly where that's at. And I'm like, ugh.
I remember when I used to work at the
My
Sports
town is so
Authority.
non-existent.
When I used to work out, I think it was the Sports Authority. I don't know if it was Moni or Frankfurt, but it was like on that borderline of Moni and Frankfurt. And if we didn't have something in stock, I would tell people like, oh, they got like 10 pair over in Matson. Oh, Matson. Oh God, no, I'm not going to Matson.
Oh
I'm
my
thinking like
God.
it's right down Lincoln Highway.
It's literally right there.
Yeah, but their fear wasn't so much like I had to go 50 miles out the way. I can see if I said go down to Bourbonnais, go way over to Joliet, or up to Skokie or something. No, I can see you being pissed off about that. I'm saying Matson, straight down Lincoln Highway. You go in, get your shoes, go back home. I can tell them to hold it at the register. I'm talking about a quick 5-minute exchange. Go see your boy Kenny. He over there. My boy. The point that I'm making is they didn't care.
We understand the point you're making.
Ultimately, the gist of this whole thing, right, is the fucking fact that, again, racism is still very much prominent everywhere, and it's a taught behavior, right? And I don't honor the excuse of I didn't know any better. That's just me, though.
I honor it to a certain extent, because if you are taught a certain thing, I have a son. He ain't in here now, but he's 10 years old. And if I teach my son a certain way of life and tell him that this is okay, that this is acceptable, y'all make the joke and call him Gangster G, right? If he is being taught that listening to certain type of music or using certain type of words or drawing tattoos all over your face and arms and getting on YouTube is acceptable, and he's not being corrected, he's going to think that that's okay.
There's a huge lack of accountability for that in general, right? So, for example, JV, you sent me a story about Tommy Bryant.
Yes, sir.
Who lacked accountability. You tell me the story of Tommy Bryant on the show and tell me how he still has a job.
I'll tell you how. So Tommy Bryant, if anybody knows, he is a city council member from North Suburban Birmingham, Tarrant, Alabama. I thought this was some little town somewhere, but no, this is right out in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, or maybe the day before, whatever day, they had a town hall meeting. And I'm not sure exactly what the meeting was about, but somehow they started talking about races and the different races and that kind of a thing. And this man stood up, and I don't know if him and the black woman had got into it or something, or what was going on.
I believe she's the governor.
She's the mayor.
Not the governor, the mayor of the town.
So what happened was somebody that was listening to them talk felt like Bryant was getting attacked, and Bryant never defended himself, and he got questioned in front of everybody as to why he's not defending himself, because the topic was about his wife, Bryant's wife, posting the N-word on Facebook.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. All right, put us on game. Okay, so that was the topic, I guess. And somehow this man stood up at a city council meeting, knowing he's on camera, and said, "Is there a house nigger in here?" And looked around like it was nothing. He didn't say, "Is there a house N-word? Is there a house?" You know what I'm?
Yeah, and he was loud and confident.
Exactly.
Loud and confidence.
Full confidence. Now, does that man know that saying the N-word is wrong? Absolutely. I mean, this man is over, 40, 50, 60 years old, probably?
He's 70 something, I think.
Okay, that's even worse.
That makes sense.
He knows that's wrong, but he also knows as a white man in Alabama, that he can say that, and he can run for mayor. That's the story you sent us on CBS.com. He can run for mayor, and that man gonna get some votes.
But why?
Outlandish.
Why does he still have that right, JV, is what we're getting at.
The why? Because in our society, you are taught as a white man that you have that right. You are the right.
You have that right to that opinion?
You know that not that you have the right to that opinion, is that who's gonna check you? Who's gonna check you? Who gonna check you? They can kick you off the student council, the city council tomorrow, if that's the thing, right? I don't know how their laws and regulations work down there. They can vote you out. Okay, cool. He could run for mayor and say, "I want to take my town back. I want to make Tarrant great again. Everything that's going on down there in Birmingham, I don't want that here in Tarrant." And people are going to vote for that man without problem. And you can ask those people, "Why did you vote for that white man? He called that black lady a nigger right there in front of everybody to see." I don't know about that. I just look at his policies and they align with my visions.
Lack of accountability, lack of consequences, which is why he was
So
so
if you run
bold
for
to
mayor,
say
you
that.
should not have any kind of negative publicity such as that, because that right
Well, no,
there,
I
that's
feel
a
like-
bad look. Ooh,
I feel like in certain parts, the negative publicity helps you. The negative publicity helped
it
Trump
does,
get
but
elected.
negative publicity
Like,
in the sense that you're morally wrong. Let's put it that way. That's my new
Probably
favorite.
wrong, but but again, we're in the, when did America have morals?
Well, we should. It's the whole point. We need to start having some damn
But-
morals.
but
That's why we
let's-
so effed up.
But let's be
Yeah.
honest. Let's just have an honest convo real quick. I know Aaron got to work in the morning, but I mean, you know, when you watch these stories, right? They talk about, oh, back in the 50s and all these nice little moral shows. You know, the I Love Lucy's and all those kinds of shows. These great, you know, classics that we see on television, right? We talk about morality, but then that's speaking to white America when you had black folks riding on the back of the bus during the same time. It's another white show. I forgot, it was like this mom and dad, and they had these little kids, and they always did these nice little wholesome things. And if you're watching the
it
sitcom,
sounds like every show in the 50s.
The
Right,
Brady
Right.
the
Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
all of them, right? And people talk about, oh, how wholesome everything is and how great America was, and that was just so beautiful. Where the black folks at? They was on the back of the bus. They was getting water hose. Like all of that was happening in the same era. But you had white people in that time moving out to the suburbs, skipping along the sidewalks, living their best life. So like, what's
That's gonna be a
happening?
whole nother episode.
So what's happening in 2021? This is what I try to tell my young people. History is so important. Folks acting like this just started happening with Donald Trump or something. It's been going on. Like, you know, and so my point that I'm making is that if you can stop that history and tell people, no, what you saw in the 50s, it was just that. People were moving to the suburbs and living a great life. And when Ronald Reagan came in, oh, the economy boomed, but black folks got po. But no, don't talk about that part. Let's not talk about that. Let's look away. We want to talk about how nice and white everything was. And then Bush came into office in the war on drugs, and white people continued to go great, but black people was getting locked up on their third strike like it was no tomorrow. And then here come Clinton. He was the best thing that ever happened to black people. Oh, no, he wasn't. He was locking niggas up like it was
Y'all
no
better
problem.
grab on to
Right.
JB. He ain't going nowhere else but straight.
I'm
Keep
just
going.
saying, you know, oh, but Clinton was the great thing to the Negroes. Oh, he was locking niggas up like it was no tomorrow. But no, let's not worry about that. Then Bush came, and then 9/11 happened, and that's when America
Are you about to go through every president?
I'm almost
He
done.
really
He's
is.
just going
shit.
through them.
I'm
Holy
almost
shit.
done. That's when-
I think you're at the end, bro.
I'm done. But Bush came in, and then when 9/11 happened, that's when we all came together, right? Remember that? When America
Oh,
all came
Lord.
together. What happened? Oh, we started treating the people that didn't look like us like they were, you know, like they weren't
They
belonging.
were terrorists. They
Right.
people
Second
treated-
class citizens.
People treated Arabic people or Muslim people like they were terrorists.
They did.
It was insane.
You saw somebody from the Middle East on a train. Oh, white folks and black folks locked arms. Oh, where you going? What you finna do? What's in that box? Point that I'm making is, we ain't got to go all in Obama and all that. The point
Okay,
that
thank
I'm
you.
making is, I'm done. I'm wrapping.
I think we
The point
should.
that-
Might as well.
I mean, you know.
No, we don't
why
have time
not?
for that. Go ahead.
No.
I'll just conclude by saying this has been here. Racism has been here and it's going to stay here. I'm not one of those people who believe that we're going to ever see the other side of the mountain. So when people talk about, oh, this is the most divisive we've ever been in this country, y'all lying. You know,
Facts.
y'all was moving to the suburbs doing great things in the 50s and we was getting water hosed at the same time.
But I have the solution.
And what?
And Australia is the place that it's in effect right now.
Mhm.
Since 1995, right?
Okay.
Hear me out. They have what's called the racial vilification law.
Ooh.
Mm.
Has anybody ever heard of that?
Nope.
Nah, but I like the way it sounds.
So I'm gonna read it verbatim so I don't fuck it up. But in
How long is
Australia,
this?
it is unlawful for a person to do an act other than in private if the act is reasonably likely in all circumstances to offend, insult, humiliate, or intimidate another person because of their race, color, or ethnic origin.
Okay.
And you could potentially do 6 months to 2 years in prison if found guilty of said law.
Yeah, we should just be doing that as a world.
Wait, you talking about this judicial system?
They wouldn't convict anybody. Here.
But
Come on now.
when you think Tommy Bryant would stand up and ask for a house nigger, right? If he
Yeah.
knew he was gonna do 6 months to 2 years in prison,
Even if he did, I'd love to see him go to jail and serve that time for it.
Who gonna prosecute him?
Shoot, I'll do
Nobody
it.
in Bama. That's for
Come
sure.
on. I mean, come on. We got a lot of laws on the books.
It'd have to go to Supreme Court.
Come on,
Like,
man.
It just feels like it wouldn't get
the point is
tried.
that there's a potential consequence that's severe to the action.
We have a whole
Exactly.
hate crime in just about every state. What does that really mean?
I mean, but people said the same thing about all the other things we never had laws for before, and we keep adding them on. Yeah, we've got like all these different corrections and repercussions for actions. Why not address the biggest one in the room? Why not?
I think Australia is
I
onto
understand
something.
it's difficult, but yeah.
I think we do have something similar. We have hate crimes. You can't go out there and maliciously do something against somebody based on their sex, color, origin.
No, we had
or-
this conversation.
But I think those are for
conversation,
violence
JV.
specifically.
Yeah.
You said that Mary Claire could call you an N-word right now,
Mhm.
and she wouldn't suffer any consequences.
She would.
However, if you took this to the police in Australia, right, and showed us this recording, Mary Claire could do jail time.
Okay, if I took this to the police in America, I might get shot.
I didn't say. See, talking about America, right? You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying you're saying that's what we need to do in America.
I agree.
I'm saying I'm a little cynical. I'm saying
A little.
growing up where I grew up, if I take this to the police and say this nice beautiful hot lady called me an N-word, I just think somebody might say, "What's that in your trunk?" And somehow it'd be a pound of coke in my car, and I go to jail. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but America.
You continue to think that way, we'll never work towards getting better, JV.
I would say this: we have made progress. So all my people that's listening, we have made.
So
progress.
let's continue to make progress,
and we will. But I'm saying, I will conclude by saying this: America has made a lot of progress. For Mary Claire to be on this show right now and opening it in public is a beautiful thing. Excuse me, for everything that we've seen over the last years, a black president being elected, all kinds of things happening in the country. Whether you love her or not, Lori Lightfoot running Chicago, which has always been a white man's city, right? As far as government and leadership. So beautiful things, right? I see our victories here and there. I see the justice reform bills that they're trying to get out there and the police change and police coming to the community and trying to make things happen. So I'm never going to sit there and act like those things aren't happening. But I'm also a realist to say, while all that progression is being made, I'm also seeing how Georgia and just about every other state in the South also is trying to repeal every voting act possible to make sure that only a certain selected group of people get a chance to vote. I'm also seeing that when there was black folks going through the 24-hour drop-off voting booth, I'm seeing those getting taken away. So while
I understand your realism, JV.
So
but while you have your realism, I'm going to be that person who's over optimistic, and I'm going to continue to hope for more progression because I know that that's what we need. And seeing things get better throughout time, I want to continue to see that. I understand you're realist.
Yeah.
You're going to do what you do. I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to still exist in my over optimism. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, since JV is a realist and that's what he believes, I'm going to believe the same thing.
Can we have what our old school argument?
You already said you was done and you had your final.
It's nice. No. I was just gonna say this. Can we have what our old school arguments? It's nice to be white. It's nice to be a white woman to sit on the couch and say,
I was gonna say the
Oh,
exact same
don't
thing.
bring my couch into this. Oh my god.
It's nice to be a white woman and say, I believe that things are just going to get better for you Negroes. Go ahead, Aaron.
Jesus. No, but he's not wrong. The sentiment is very color specific. We don't have that luxury, so I understand.
I agree, and then like I said in the beginning, right? It's crazy how full of shit we are in the U.S. of A. And I believe truly that we are going backwards.
But I'll say we're still in the greatest country in the world. I wouldn't rather be nowhere else but the United States of America. Love her or hate her, she has her good days, she has her bad days, but I'm proud to be an American. And
what about you, Sean? If you had to choose here or Australia, where would you be?
Australia seems kind of lit. I don't really know much about Australia, but it seems kind of lit. So I might slide.
We gotta make a trip, fam. That's what it sounds like.
Might as well.
Yeah, let's
next episode, Australia. I know somebody. Let's go.
All right, bet.
All right.
We'll see, right?
We're on our way.
To kind of wrap this shit up, man, we'll do it with our normal like final thoughts, right? And so I'll go first. My final thought is kind of a sad one, right? Because I said I had two things I want to bring up, and I brought up Mary Claire's return in the beginning, but there's also an end of an era. This will be the last time that you guys hear or see the four of us, High Chicago Original, together, right? Because right now, in this moment, I am firing JV's ass off the show.
That's
JV,
crazy.
for the world to hear and see, you are fucking fired, my guy.
You should have did it in the
Especially
Mr. World
you
voice.
wear the same hat every episode. I'm sick of it. The same hoodie every episode. I'm sick of it. Your shitty audio, the shitty reflection of your glasses. I'm tired of your shit.
This seems unnecessary.
I'm
just
getting
kidding.
vivid
I was about
like
to say,
flashbacks of Donald Trump. So can you stop with the
No.
I'm fired?
No,
Well, I'm
no.
kidding.
Oh
You
God.
should have been Vince McMahon. No, Sean. You know I'm a wrestling fan. You should have been like, "You're fired." I would have been Jim Ross. Oh my God, he just got fired. He just got fired.
Oh,
Good God, he
my
got
God.
fired.
No, I'm fucking with everybody. I'm not firing JV, but it is his last episode, right? JV, brother, you've been with us since day one, right? I appreciate all your insight on the show. I appreciate the humor that you bring. I appreciate you frying the fuck out of Mary Claire in every political episode ever, causing many arguments. You feel me? But you're an invaluable piece of the show. It's been great having you, bro. I appreciate you. You're my brother for life, and I look forward to doing bigger and better things in the future.
Man, I mean, I'm humbled. Coming
Shut
from
the
where I
fuck up
come
with this
from.
damn shit, please.
Yep. I'm
It's
not supposed to
hard.
be here.
I'm not even supposed to be here. Hot Chicago on YouTube, on podcasts. I mean,
Shut
man,
up.
Well,
it's
JV, why
hard.
are you leaving, bro?
Well, I'm leaving because tomorrow on Friday, I'm going to sign a contract with the television station. Which one? We don't know yet. This could be in the Midwest. It could be in the Great Lakes. It could be in Arkansas. Could be in South Carolina.
Don't name every fucking state, please. Holy shit.
Oh, my bad.
Hopefully it's not
Sorry.
Alabama.
Could be Dallas. No, I'm just playing. But and the two companies that own these different stations that I applied for, they have a non-compete, which basically mean I can't write articles or be on feature podcasts without representing the company. And they said,
Why he start talking like that?
because I'm Derrick Rose.
He's Derrick Rose right now.
And when I called Sean and told him, I said, Sean, I gotta leave High Chicago. He started crying, and I was like, man, I know. But
Gonna be by Chicago.
right. But all jokes aside, guys, I enjoyed this ride and this journey. I enjoyed sitting in my little apartment in Iowa when this show first started, with the terrible audio, no camera, no light, anything. I would just
You're
sit
the
on my
thermostat in your
couch.
background.
Yep, have the
No
thermostat. And yeah, barely Wi-Fi, right?
Mhm.
We've had some moments, John and I, we would argue. I would argue with all of y'all. We act a fool. I like to get on Mary Claire nerves. And it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure, honestly. So I just would like to thank all the people that have subscribed to our channel. I cannot wait to see what happens next with Hot Chicago. I know that you guys are going to do great things. And this is not in our friendship. I can still edit some things. If anybody need me to edit something, just shoot it my way. I'll edit it for you guys. I may not be on
Now,
camera.
why
but
would we let you edit our stuff?
I mean, hey, I know how to edit. Maybe.
Mm-mm.
But no, I mean, thank everybody. I mean, thank you all. Thank you, Mary Claire. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, and Sean. This your baby here, you know? And I just know I'm here and I'm gonna always support you no matter what. I'm your best friend and I'm gonna always be in your corner. And you know this. And I love you.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
brother.
gonna miss you guys so much.
Oh my God.
Aaron, what's your final thought for this fool, man? Or
Oh
anything
my
in
God.
general?
Well, it's been great working with you, JV. We haven't really had a professional relationship outside of this, which is crazy because you and Sean have worked together before. And so it's like you guys knew what it was like to work with each other. But I think it's been very enjoyable to work with you here on High Chicago. I'm going to miss you. Gonna miss your humor. Going to miss your windy impressions.
How you doing?
MC, what you got?
I'm really sad.
Please don't ugly cry on camera.
Well,
Are you dead ass crying right now?
she is. No.
She love me, Sean Day. Everybody ain't fuck like you. When I told Sean I had a real job, Mary Claire get it together. When I told Sean I had a new job, you know what he did? He said, "At that job, I'm gonna get you fired." That's what he said.
He probably thought you were lying.
I was
He
like,
probably
I
thought
need-
you were lying, low
I
key.
was like,
But
I
no,
need to start the
no.
job.
For real though, like I'm gonna miss you, JV. Like I thought Sean was bullshitting.
Oh, wow.
I wish I was. If I'm being honest with you.
But I'm gonna miss our arguments. I only like fighting with you, really. But no, I'm gonna miss you, and I know you're gonna do big things. So you better come back, like just so. Okay, I guess you can be a guest star, but you could definitely hit up the comment section.
I sure will. How you doing?
There you
What,
go.
Wendy?
JB,
coming in?
in
On
honor of being
everything.
your last episode, bro, why don't you wrap us up with your best Wendy Williams impersonation?
How you
Oh
doing?
Lord, Wendy finna come after him.
How you doing? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up. You already know this is your favorite podcast. Hi, Chicago. How you doing? If you want to like, go ahead, push the little check mark. Go ahead and subscribe to. We are wherever you are. If you on iTunes, we're on iTunes. If you want a podcast platform, we're there too. Because this is the High Chicago experience. And this may be my last episode, but there's still more coming. How you doing? So you make sure you like and you follow and you share with your friends. Tell everybody, come on, join us. Until next time, Hi Chicago. How you doing? Wendy out.